Hey there, welcome back to another video. This time it is the first installment of a new series called the Watchlist, where I talk about films or TV shows that I really didn't feel there was enough there to really talk about in depth for a full-length review. So I'll talk about a bunch of them all condensed and all combined together into one video. So the first episode is Comedy Calamity, and let's get into some comedy reviews. The first one I'm going to talk about is Father Figures. I only saw this, and I only picked this up because it was $1. I got this at Buybacks along with Proud Mary in the bargain bin, and it was a mistake. It was a pricing error, but I benefited from it because this was a fairly new film when it was in that rack, because it was 2018 release on home video. If you look at it, if you look at the film anywhere else, it says 2017 release, and yeah, it was released in 2017 on like December 22nd, and did not do that well at all in the box office. It made $25.6 million on a $25 million budget, so safe to say it was a bomb, because this is not factoring in the other costs and things like that. The portion that goes to the theater and all the other things. So yeah, it didn't do that well. I'm not surprised, because it isn't really a great film. It isn't a great film. I mean, it's one of those movies that it's really surprising that it was released in 2018, because I mean 2017. This is the type of comedy that you would expect to come out in the late 90s or early 2000s. Like, they dusted off some old spec script or some old script and just got Owen Wilson and Ed Helms together and called it a day. Despite that fact, I will give the film this. It does have a nice heart to it. Unlike some of the other comedies I'll talk about, one in particular really lacked some genuine heart. This at least has a good heart to it. It's a feel-good film. But the problem is it's painfully generic. It's been there, done that in terms of the plot line. It's pretty predictable. There isn't really a lot of energy in the film either. There's some nice character moments, but that doesn't really save the film. It was nice to see Glenn Close play a role like this in a film like this. She normally doesn't do movies like this, so it was a nice change of pace. J.K. Simmons had a role that I liked, and it was also fun to see Terry Bradshaw again play a film role. He hadn't really done something like that for a while. And it's always nice to see Christopher Walken. I would have to say, though, the most compelling part of this film was a relationship that was brewing between Ed Helms and... I'm trying to find this actress's name, because she I think she would be up here. Yeah, I'm not... Katie Aselton, who plays Sarah. Yeah, Sarah Callahan. Sarah O'Callahan. And I felt that I really liked her. I thought she had a nice spunk, some nice charisma to her, and I thought she had some good chemistry with Ed Helms. Ed Helms and Owen Wilson, though, didn't really mesh that well. They're supposed to be brothers, and there really wasn't a lot of chemistry, so that definitely hurt the film. The direction's pretty flat by Lawrence Sher. There's not really a lot to it that is a standout in any way. The screenplay, just very generic, and it's one of those films that could have used a rewrite. It's only written by one guy, Justin Malin. I like the fact that there wasn't a lot of line-o-rama stuff or just a ton of improv that wasn't edited out or edited down, but it still wasn't really that funny, and ultimately Father Figures is forgettable. It's a very forgettable film. I don't really know what else to say about it, except unless you're a huge diehard fan of Owen Wilson and Ed Helms, I would recommend skipping it. I really would, because there really isn't much to this at all. The second film I want to talk about is Life of the Party, the new Melissa McCarthy comedy that came out this year. Melissa McCarthy's an actress that there are roles that she's done that I enjoy. I like her in Bridesmaids. I liked her in The Heat. I even liked her in Spy. So Melissa McCarthy is an actress that I feel she isn't as terrible and as hopeless and as worthless as a lot of people are saying she is nowadays. But films like this are not doing her any favors. She's inconsistent. That's her problem. She's very inconsistent. She'll do something like The Heat or something like Spy, and then she'll do something like Ghostbusters, a 2016 film, or she'll do something like Tammy, or The Boss, or Life of the Party. I will say this, though, her character in Life of the Party was at least the character you could sympathize with and actually kind of give a shit about. Like, I did want to see her pick her life up and move on from her asshole boyfriend, or not really boyfriend, her asshole husband who divorced her right on campus when they were dropping off their daughter for her last year at college. And that was just a super cold move, so you definitely did feel for her. And I felt the film did a good job making you sympathize with her character, with Deanna. I felt that Ben Falcone and Melissa McCarthy did a good job with that aspect of the film. The thing is, though, she never really finds another man in her life. She does this fling with this younger guy and then cuts it off, and then she's still, she's still alone. It's one of those things that's like, you would think there was something going on between her and an old classmate who's a teacher at an archaeology class, played by Chris Parnell, and you would think that they would elope by the end of the movie, but that never happens. They say that we'd like to go on a date, but then you never see the date, and nothing really, you don't know how it went. You really don't. You don't know at all. And the movie ends with Deanna graduating. So it's one of those things that was just, that was pretty unsatisfying, that aspect of the plot. And honestly, the plot in the entire film is for the most part unsatisfying. That's a great way to put it. And also, it's lifeless. Life of the Party is a lifeless comedy. It's so stale and tired. The plot is, it's back to school. It's the unofficial back to school remake, just like Fist Fight was the unofficial remake of 3 O'Clock High, and just like Fist Fight, the original is much better. Back to School is a much better film than Life of the Party. I actually have fun with Back to School. I mean, you have Sam Kinison who's in this. I mean Sam Kinison who's in that. I wish he was in this. It would be so much better. Can you imagine Sam Kinison today just poking fun at all the politically correct shit and in a comedy called Life of the Party, and like he's the life of the party? Like, that could have been awesome, man. That would have been hilarious. I would have been all for that. But no, we have Melissa McCarthy, and she plays a very nerdy character who's making very cringe jokes that aren't funny. And there's a lot of line-o-rama shit. There's so many moments in this where the director, who is Melissa McCarthy's husband, should have just cut it off. And he didn't. He let it keep going. The Vagoogle joke. And other shit like that. And I'm just sick of it. I'm sick of that type of comedy, especially nowadays. It's just, cut it off. Some improv is fine. Some improv can be really good and really funny, but in small doses, and keep the best bits in. Don't just keep everything. That's not a good formula for success for a comedy. I will say this. I did like a particular actress in this. I liked the actress. Um, I'm looking her up here. Yeah, Jillian Jacobs, who plays Helen, one of the sorority sisters. I liked her because I felt she was really fun and quirky. She played this character who was in a coma for 8 years, and so she's strange and weird and a little bit out there, and I liked her. I liked that personality. I thought that was different and definitely was something you normally didn't see in this type of cookie cutter comedy. The film is excruciatingly long for a film like this. It's 105 minutes. You would think, okay, that's a little bit over an hour and 30 minutes. But it just feels so long because the plot goes nowhere. You don't really care about how things end up. It doesn't matter if you have Christina Aguilera at the end doing a concert. I don't really care. I don't give a shit. So, there's not a lot that makes anything really worth the wait. So that's definitely an issue. And also, it really is hurt by having Maya Rudolph in here. I don't know what the appeal of Maya Rudolph is. I have not seen a single film role that she's been in that I thought she was really good in, or I liked her in. I don't remember if she was in Bridesmaids or not. It's been a while since I've seen it. But Maya Rudolph, for the most part, is just an insufferable actress, especially in film. And I didn't really think she was that great in SNL either. So I've never been a fan of Maya Rudolph. I never buy any of her characters. They come across as completely fake. I never buy her comedy status because her jokes aren't funny. Her character got hit in the snatch with a racquetball, and I really didn't give a shit. I was like, maybe that'll get her to be quiet and stop annoying me with her shitty acting. But that's not really what happened. She still kept talking. She kept talking about how much pain she was in, and I was just like, yeah, well, now you can feel my pain, Maya, every time I have to deal with your dumbass on screen. She plays a friend of Melissa McCarthy, but they're not really, doesn't really seem like they're friends. They don't really have that close of a relationship. It's like Melissa McCarthy's character Deanna just keeps her around just to keep her sane, and that's about it. I also didn't mind the actress who played Deanna's daughter, Maddie, Molly Gordon. I thought she was fine. It was interesting to see Debbie Ryan, who I remember in the Sweet Life. I believe it was The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody, and she's in this as some total rich bitch. Basically a mean girl character. That's really what she is. Honestly, I don't really know what else to say about Life at the Party. I wasn't expecting much from it, and it gave me even less. It gave me even less than I was expecting. Easily one of the worst films that I've seen that has gotten a theatrical release in 2018. This is a film that had no business being in the theater. I don't know why this made $62.8 million worldwide. I don't know why this cost $30 million. It's definitely not on the screen. Is that so they could pay Christina Aguilera to show up and do a mini concert at the end of the movie? This film is a fail. It gets an F. It gets an F grade, as in fuck this movie. Okay? I am absolutely done with these lazy Melissa McCarthy comedies. I hope the dramatic role that she's doing in a upcoming drama ends up getting some good reviews and she does well with it so she can move on from this shit, because it's going to kill her career sooner rather than later. Stop doing these lazy films with your husband and do something creative and do something that uses your talents in a way that isn't just, oh, look, the fat girl falls down, ha ha ha. Oh, let me talk about my vagina for a bunch of times, and so on and so forth. And just be annoying and prattle off all these fucking improv jokes that don't land. Uh, yeah. So that's my thoughts on Life of the Party. The next film I want to talk about is a film that honestly surprised me. I thought this was going to be awful. I thought this was going to be terrible. I thought this was going to be one of the worst comedies of the year. I hated the trailers for this movie, and that film was Blockers. I hated the trailers for it because not only because there's John Cena, who is... he's so fucking terrible, man. I mean, he's so bad. He has no charisma. He's so bad at acting that he's invisible. Yeah, you can't see me. You can't see him because it's like he's not even there. And I hated the whole ass beer thing and all of that. And I was like, oh, great. Another crass comedy. I'm sick and tired of these crass comedies that are trying to be the next Hangover. The Hangover came out, I think now it's been a decade or more than that. Stop trying to be the next Hangover. It's over. It's done with. The Hangover killed the Hangover. With the Hangover sequels, we do not need any more Hangovers. But I was surprised by this film. I thought it was okay. I didn't love it. I didn't love it like some critics did. I thought it was a decent time waster. I thought the direction for the most part was impressive for this type of movie. It had some style and flair to it by Kay Cannon. I also felt the screenplay by Brian Kehoe and Jim Kehoe, there was some fun stuff to it. I thought, and it had a nice heart to it as well. I felt that the characters, the adults and the kids, they went through a journey that was honestly pretty compelling at times. It actually did draw me in, and I thought these characters felt like real people. So I like that. I like that they evolved. I like that the adults and the kids weren't just total obnoxious assholes for the majority of the film and still ended up as obnoxious assholes or even more obnoxious assholes. I'm glad it wasn't like that. I'm glad there was something that these characters learned and they grew from by the end of the movie. I also felt this film, of all things, was a movie that is a prime example of how to do the inclusion or the sort of social justice angle that a lot of films have been trying to do, like be more inclusive, be more open, and things like that to LGBT and to different races and stuff like that. I felt this is one of the best films that I've seen that has really successfully done that in a way that doesn't come across as pandering. Of all things, a gross out, crass, R-rated comedy about parents trying to cock block their daughters, and it is one of the most effectively inclusive films that I've seen. I like the fact that you had a character who was a budding lesbian, and this was not shoved down your throat, and it wasn't virtue signaling. It was just, okay, this character, she's a lesbian, you know? And a Sam, who is played by Gideon Alden, and I really liked her performance. I thought she was a really relatable. I mean, in terms of the way where you have sort of an outcast sort of character, and in terms of that, and I was definitely an outcast in high school, so I can relate to that. But and the fact that she was shy and things like that and so on. But I liked her personality. I thought she had a nice personality, and she was just a sweet character, and it was a sweet performance by Gideon Alden. And I like the fact that the love story, which is a lesbian love story, is done tastefully. It's handled in a way that is just as charming as any of the other love stories that you've seen in other films that deal with a straight couple. So I thought that was very well done. And I also liked the way that the character, who is the daughter of John Cena's character, I felt that Kayla, played by Geraldine, I'm just going to say Geraldine because I cannot say her last name and I do not want to butcher it. I thought that Geraldine did a phenomenal job playing this character, and I like the fact that this character, she's Indian, but that isn't shoved down your throat either. They didn't do this whole she's Indian, she's also a woman, or she's also a girl. They didn't do that. They handled that really well. And I think that's the best way to have more races and more different genders or different sexual identities interspersed and put into films, is to do it in a way that seems seamless. That seems like, you know what, this isn't anything that's forced. This is something that was bred naturally. It isn't shoved down your throat every 5 seconds. And that's exactly what happened in the film, and I really like that. And I thought the girls all were wonderful. Not only the girls that I mentioned, I also felt Catherine Newton was really great as Julie, and I loved Leslie Mann as Lisa, and I always have fun seeing Ike Barinholtz, and I felt this is one of his best acting performances, because there's a couple scenes where he's pouring his heart out, and it's genuinely heartbreaking and effective in terms of the emotion that's expressed. And I was really surprised by that when it comes to Ike. John Cena, though, he sucks. Okay, John Cena sucks. He's terrible. He has no charisma. He's a charisma black hole. All charisma just gets sucked into the black hole that is John Cena and never comes out and never comes back again. He's a poor man's Mark Wahlberg. If Mark Wahlberg jacked himself up on steroids and he had less talent, that's John Cena. I do not want to see some renaissance where you get like John Cena and all these other movies. Please, I don't want to see it, especially not in comedies. He's not funny. John Cena is not funny. He doesn't have the charisma or the personality to pull this type of role off. He just comes across as a overly protective, dumb jock who also is overly emotional. And he's annoying, and I don't like this. I didn't like the character, and I don't like John Cena. Maybe it was a different actor. Like, for example, Channing Tatum is an actor that I wasn't super big on until I saw the 21 Jump Street films, and I completely changed my mind about him. When he's in a role that's suited for him, he excels at it. And the same thing for Mark Wahlberg. I'm not a huge fan of him either, but I can tolerate him, and I actually like Mark Wahlberg in films like The Other Guys and Pain and Gain. I can't say that about John Cena. I thought his cameo in Sister sucked. Pretty much anything that I've seen him in sucked. So I don't want to see. I mean, John Cena has not improved as an actor since 12 Rounds or The Marine. It's the same fucking guy. I don't know why he's getting roles, especially in comedies. He's not funny. Another thing that I felt wasn't funny was the certain gross out gags in this. The reason why it's just a time waster for me is because of certain gross out gags. The projectile vomiting scene where all the girls are vomiting all over each other in the limo and vomiting out the sunroof wasn't funny to me. None of that stuff isn't funny to me anyway. And it was just crass and tasteless, and it's just too much. It's too much. The scene where John Cena and Ike Barinholtz are in a house and they're trying to find a phone or something, and there's a couple there who are the parents of one of the boys that is running a party that the girls might be at, and they're having blindfold games while they're naked, and there's this shot where Ike Barinholtz's balls are being squeezed really hard, and they show an up close of his ball sack, and I don't need to see some guy's hairy balls in my face. I really don't. It's not funny. It's just gross. So there were moments like that brought it down. But overall, it went by at a good pace. It wasn't boring. Yeah, John Cena sucks, but he didn't kill the entire movie. He didn't give the entire film an attitude adjustment. It was one of those films that I did get some enjoyment out of, and if I saw it for cheap somewhere, I'd pick it up to add it to the collection. And for all the other people involved, not named John Cena. Could have been a lot better if there was somebody else, somebody more talented, playing the role of Mitchell, other than John Cena, and if they cut down some of the gross out gags, because the gags that I thought really worked were snappy lines of dialogue, and one particular sight gag that I really thought was brilliant. It took me for a loop, and it was a moment where Kayla, John Cena's character Mitch, is going in and he's being overprotective, and he's going into her bedroom and he sees what he thinks might be a vibrator, and then it's just a part of a toothbrush. And I thought that was a really fun sight gag. So there were quite a few moments like that I thought were fun. And I also thought there's some really creative stuff, like Leslie Mann's character Lisa being in the same room as her daughter and her boyfriend when they're gonna have their perfect evening, and she's trying to do everything she can to hide, and so they don't see her. And there's even a moment where she's under the bed and they're kissing each other, and so I thought that was a fun way to interject some action and some suspense into that particular sequence. But anyway, that's my thoughts on Blockers. The last film I want to talk about real quick is Tag. Tag, I'm it. I wish I wasn't it, because this film sucks. Tag is a... this came out pretty recently. This came out, I think, last week or a week before that. And this film is just... it's just not funny. There's nothing funny about this. It's supposed to be a comedy, but I didn't laugh once. I did not laugh one time. And can you blame me when you have a film where there's lines like facial disgracial? You know, it's or disgracial facial, or other dumb lines and other dumb shit, and an annoying female character who her whole shtick is she just yells and acts like an asshole, and then later is all like, oh, do you want to check out some photos? She's all sweet and charming later. She's just all like, get your head in the game, you dicks! You know, it's just, it's not funny. It's just annoying. I don't see how that's funny. It's annoying. She's just being a bitch. It's not, it's, oh, look, she's being, look at how over-aggressive how she is and how funny that is. No, she's just being a bitch. That's really all it is. Here we have my good friend Ed Helms, who once again makes an appearance on this video. And he's in this with Jeremy Renner, John Hamm, Jake Johnson, and Hannibal Buress. I cannot stand Hannibal Buress. Why is Hannibal Buress a thing? Is this an ironic thing? Is this an ironic deal where people are watching Hannibal Buress and studios are casting him in films because he's so bad at being funny that it's funny? I don't get it, because for me, he's just horribly unfunny. This is a guy, and he can't act. He's a horrible actor. He's not funny. So that makes it even worse. You have a horrible actor who could barely emote worth a damn and can't do it convincingly, and then he's not funny. I can't think of a single film I've seen Hannibal Buress in that I thought his character was funny or I thought his performance was good. I don't get it. I've seen the clips that he's done on Broad City. I didn't think he was funny in that either. I've seen the clips he's doing in the Eric and Andre show. I don't think he was funny then either. The one clip I saw, he's just eating some fucking cabbage. That's funny? I don't... What is so funny about Hannibal Buress? Most of the time, he sounds like he's overdosing on NyQuil because he's so drowsy, or he sounds like he's drunk. There's a scene in the film where he's supposed to be drunk, and I could not tell any different because he's still acting the same way as he was previously. There's no difference. Drunk Hannibal Buress is the same as sober Hannibal Buress. It's a mumble mouth, just I don't get it. He always sounds like he got hit in the head too many times, or he's high on something. I don't get the appeal. I really don't. One big issue that Tag has is that none of these main characters who are supposed to be best friends have any chemistry with each other. I've seen critics say that they do have chemistry. I don't know where it is. I didn't see it. I really didn't. And then it does not help either that this script by Rob McKittrick and Mark Stellan is overly cynical. And to the point where it just saps out all of the fun that can be had with this particular concept of these group of friends who still play a game of tag all these years later, even when they're adults, and want to try to get the guy who's never been tagged before he retires. It's just overly cynical. The script also is written like it's on speed. Everything goes by way too fast, and there's no time to pause or to recollect or to really let anything sink in. The whole thing with the tag thing could be kind of fun, but it's done in such a lazy way that it's not fun and it's just boring. And also there's no motivation, so that doesn't help either. What's the motivation here? Why should I care? So that's another thing. It lacks the engagement that you need for a feature film. Like if this is like an episode of a TV show, okay, 30 minutes, whatever, but it's a feature film and I'm supposed to give a shit about these characters who don't really have that much chemistry, and I'm supposed to care about them tagging Jeremy Renner. Like, why should I give a shit? There's no reason to really give a shit. And then the moments when they try to tag him are ruined by an overuse of slow motion, and I guess the director is trying to emulate Sherlock Holmes. Like Jeff Tomsic is like, oh, Sherlock Holmes in the slow-mo with Robert Downey Jr. was so cool, let's do it here in tag, and it comes across as just a ripoff, and it isn't anywhere near as effective. It's the same. It's just Jeremy Renner, he sees that, oh, the guys might be trying to tag him, so then the camera, everything just slows down super slow, and then he narrates over the footage and about what he's gonna do, and then he does it, and then I'm like, so who cares? Like, I didn't give a shit if he was tagged or not. I don't care who tags who. I like to tag them all in the face. I mean, so maybe knock them out so they'd stop talking, so they wouldn't be as annoying and unfunny and obnoxious. One of the best characters in the film was a character that was barely even in the movie. The actress, trying to find her name here. Yeah, Rashida Jones, who played Cheryl Deakins. I thought she was the best part of the film. I could not stand the actress. What's her name? I think it's, yeah, Hogan's wife. The actress who plays Hogan's wife is Isla Fisher. I could not stand her character, Anna. And I didn't care about Hannibal Buress. Jake Johnson, he's just a guy who's high all the time and a fucking loser. John Hamm's an asshole. Rich executive. Ed Helms is just some guy who the only thing he has in his life is this game of tag. And it's honestly pretty pathetic. And then it tries to pull the rug out from underneath you in the end, and it's trying to be like, oh, it all of a sudden at the end, it's like, he has cancer. You should care now. And I'm like, it's too late. I still don't care. So, yeah, Tag, I don't get why this even got middling reviews from critics. There's nothing to this movie. It's a boring, lame, forgettable game of tag with characters and actors who had no chemistry with each other, so there's no fun to be had there. The writing, yeah, there's not any line-o-rama bullshit, but bad comedy writing that's not funny is every bit as bad as bad improv. Like, both of those things suck. Both of those things are not funny. Both of those things make the experience of watching a comedy excruciating. So, they're equally as terrible. One is not worse than the other. And Tag is a prime example of this, where even if you don't have improv, it can still be just as bad, with just nothing that lands and nothing that really stands out. Nothing that sticks with you. I don't remember much of anything about the movie. Like, I guarantee, one of the reasons why I wanted to do this is because if I didn't, then I'd just forget about it, and then if I ever decided to talk about it, I wouldn't have anything to say. So, anyway, that's all I have for you for this episode of the Watchlist. I hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned for more. There'll be some other films, I'm sure, that I feel that weren't really meaty enough to talk about in a feature-length review, and I will pile them all together and load them all up into a video like this, and put them all in a blender and share it with you. I like this concept, and I might even do it for other things. Like I said, not just movies, TV shows as well. So anyway, thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you later. See ya.